Hey guys, welcome back to We Watched a Movie. I am Mike, and I've got another Scream update for you today. This one's just tiny little updates, but more importantly, I wanted to talk about why I think that this could be a really, really good sequel. Now, I know all the stuff that's been going on, the Melissa Barrera, all this stuff. It's been a messy time. This movie's marketing and side plots have fallen from the very top of the ugly tree and hit every branch of fuckaroo on the way down to the bottom and fell on shards of broken glass dipped in the blood of many men's broken dreams. That was a lot to go through, but my point is this, and it was sticky too. There's a chance that we come out of all that, and this could be a really good movie, maybe even the best sequel yet. First off, the actual news. Hollywood insider Daniel Rickman put on his Patreon that they are looking to cast Sid's 2 kids for the movie, Sidney Prescott's 2 kids, and it looks like the movie is going to focus specifically on Sidney's family. Also, they said in a post a few days before that while there would be new leads, again, Sid and Gail are once again going to be the main characters along with Sidney's family. And the idea is that someone is targeting Sidney's family. And of course, as we know, they are also in talks right now with McDreamy, with Patrick Dempsey, who was most recently in Thanksgiving, and he was her boyfriend at the end of Scream 3. And they referenced him in Scream 5 that he was with the kids back home in Seattle. So he's going to be coming back to do this one. So it seems like, and I've said this several times on the channel before, and this is the main argument that I have. Amidst all the other crap that's happened and all the turmoil, this could be the best sequel that we've had in a long time. Because if this movie is going to focus on Sidney, and there's a Ghostface who goes after her kids, it changes the entire dynamic of Sidney Prescott as a character for the first time since Scream 2. The end of Scream 2, really, which is by most people hailed as the best sequel throughout the franchise. I know everybody has their different rankings, but most people, I feel like, see it that way. I see some people say Scream 2 is better than Scream 1. To that, I say, get out of town and take a bus, John. But I understand. So, that being said, here's why. Because Sidney hasn't been afraid of Ghostface in a very, very long time. He might get her in a corner, he might trap her in a situation for a few minutes, but for the most part, every time we've seen Sidney answering a phone or whatever, it's like, yeah, I'm bored, asshole, fuck you too. And she's become almost plot armored in a certain sort of way. So you haven't had that feeling of when Sid's on the screen in a long time that she's actually in peril. Like, I never felt like she was in Scream 3. I never felt like she was in Scream 4. Sure, they did a great job with certain aspects, but you never felt that same thing as you saw in Scream, that the original Scream where we watched Casey Becker get sliced and diced all over the place as Drew Barrymore and anything could happen. That feeling of the franchise has been gone for a long time. It's been gone, and such an important thing that they had to go and kill Dewey off in Scream 5 just to add some stakes to the movie. Should have been Gail, wrong kid died. But Ghostface going after her family, after her kids, there's not going to be any, oh, fuck you, asshole, whatever, on board, hanging up the phone. She's actually gonna be in peril for the first time, especially if he's in her home and she's not there. Whatever the case may be, you're gonna see a Sidney Prescott who's actually has intensely huge stakes that could actually happen, and we're gonna see her actually be scared of Ghostface for the first time in a while, which is so underratedly important to this franchise. I think that's gonna be absolutely huge and could be the biggest dynamic of this. Not only that, but we're gonna have Courtney Cox back as Gail, and I think that she's the number one suspect to die here, right? I mean, everybody's getting up there. You just had Scream 6 where there was no stakes and they let everybody live. So I think that we're going to be watching. Sid's going to be in peril because her kids are going to be in peril, and that's going to put us all on the edge of our seats. On top of that, Courtney Cox could get killed off at any moment, so that's going to be intense scenes. We're getting away from a lot of the other subplots. It's going to be a very focused situation, and part 2 of why I think this could be the best Scream sequel in a long time is because there are so many options for killers for the first time in forever. For the first time in forever. Do you want to build a snowman with me and Forrest Bump? My point is this. Based on us pivoting away from the core 4 and going to Seattle, maybe more on that later, any of the people who were in Scream 5 and 6 that were not supposed to be announced as a part of this movie at any point could show up as a killer. And I'm not saying these would be great reveals or anything like that, but let's just run down the list of possible killers in this. First off, you've got Mark, her husband. How fucked up would that be? They could tie it to Scream 3 in some sort of crazy way, right? You could tie it to so many things, like where he actually comes from in her past. Patrick Dempsey could be the killer and the character. Go back to the core 4 and who's left. Obviously, it's not going to be Jenna Ortega. Obviously, it's not going to be Melissa Barrera. Barrera. Mindy could be the killer in this. And again, I'm not saying it would be good or that it makes sense or that I have a story for these ideas. I'm just talking about the people who could be killers. We have more people in Scream 7 that could be a killer. Sydney's kids. One of the kids could be the killers at whatever teenage they are. Think about all the shit that she's been through with family members and everything else. Anything is possible. Listen back to what Randy told you. Everybody's a suspect. Not to mention the obvious tie-ins that are possibly here with Stu. Guy Busick of the Radio Silence team, the Project X team and all that stuff was probably the one that was most, it seemed like at least from interviews and whatnot and what they said, that he was the one who was most into the possible idea of a Stu return. And this is a perfect chance for Stu to come back and be like, hey, I was running the whole thing. I was running everything that was going on with those movies. We've made videos about that at ad nauseum. You know how we feel. Stu lives. Get it up. But that's a possibility you can go with here too. It really opens the floodgates for possible killers to be in this movie. So you really have the aspects of a great Scream sequel. Obviously, you have Kevin Williamson coming back to direct this. That is a wild card, but it's got a high ceiling. You know, I know that he directed Teaching Miss Tingle, and that wasn't great, but also with the stuff he had to deal with Dimension and things like that, and all that stuff going on, who knows what that situation was actually like, and this could be an entirely different situation. There could be a very specific reason Kevin Williamson wanted to direct this specific movie, and again, that could tie back into Stu and everything as well, but we'll see what happens with that. And obviously Guy Busick writing the script, just took part in writing Abigail, which was great. The focused story about the family being there and it being a really esoteric film, which is, as much as I like Scream 5 and 6, and I do, is something that we haven't gotten in a little bit. But also, everything's on the table. Like, just because they're back in Seattle, they could be doing you know how they do Scream in New York, right? With his last movie. They could be doing like a Scream in Seattle thing. You could really get that. Remember like Real World Seattle? And by the way, that was the best season of The Real World on MTV. I don't know if anybody knows that or not. That shit was crazy. But no, you could really use the city in different ways there. I don't think he's gonna like chase her up the Space Needle or through Fraser Crane's, radio station, but that actually kind of checks out and makes sense. Could you imagine if I'm getting crazy with the cheese whiz here, but my point is they could find a way for it to go back to Woodsboro. Her and the family could try to be escaping this ghost face. She could be trying to keep her kids safe and end up going to a cabin somewhere. It could still take place during Christmas. You could have Ghostface in the snow, the white robe, all that stuff if you wanted to. You could do a road trip Scream movie. That sounds silly as shit, but what I'm saying is like a Hitcher style. They're trying to get away and Ghostface is literally in this travel situation chasing them down and showing up at rest stops and shit like that. What have you do. My point is that all the options are currently on the table. We're not really tied to anything except for Ghostface, Sydney, and her family, and then all bets are off. I'm really thinking, and I'm not saying it for sure will be, but this has the trappings, the ingredients. There's no reason to knock this quite so hard yet. This could be the best Scream sequel ever. Why not? Why the fuck not? Oh, and one more possibility for a killer, by the way, that I forgot to just throw out there. Hayden Panettiere. What's going on with her character? Nobody's talking about whether or not she's going to have anything to do with this or whatnot. It's all fascinating to me, and I think it could be amazing. Also, a funny little side note, Melissa Barrera. By the way, we also reviewed Abigail. That I'll put that at the end of this video as well. But Melissa Barrera just said that she would be interested in doing Scream 6. At least she said that would be so fun and that she was a fan of those movies. So how funny as shit would it be if they brought Melissa Barrera into Scary Movie 6 that they announced and they were actually making fun of these movies using her character? That's pretty fucking good, actually. You can do some fun shit with that, so I'd like to see it. But yeah, that is my Scream 7 update and how I'm feeling currently. Just wanted to put some Scream positivity out there into your assholes. And I hope you guys have an amazing day, and we'll see you soon. Mom and Dad are gonna be so mad at me when they find out I'm in love with my friend Billy. Well, he's got a white shirt, tight little jeans, kinda wanna put my P in his B. He hit me with the phone, I wished it was his dick. You cut me too deep this time. You cut me too deep this time. Woodsboro will never know me and Billy were more than bros. So get it up, leave her alone. He was my Sharon Stone. Woodsboro will never know me and Billy were more than bros. So get it up, leave her alone. He was my Sharon Stone.